Now let's talk a little bit about Mar-a-Lago and the double standard. Democrats keep saying, nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. But the Federalists put together a list of all the Democrats who apparently are above the law, starting with Joe Biden. Avoided paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. And we're not quite sure about that. We're not quite sure about whether or not the 10% he got as being the big guy required him to pay taxes. You know why? Because there hasn't been an investigation. Hunter Biden. Again, what's going on? How much longer does it take for us to investigate whether or not Hunter Biden broke the law and whether or not any of the money he received from these overseas deals went into the pockets of the big guy, Father Joe? Benghazi. All these people that were lying about Benghazi, about what happened. We ever get to the bottom of that? Gavin Newsom partied at the French Laundry up there with the very people that drafted the mask mandates. He was not engaging in social distancing, not wearing a mask. Has there ever been any sort of investigation about whether or not Gavin Newsom followed the science? Of course not. What about all those riots that took place in the summer of 2020, the George Floyd riots? At least 25 people killed, 2,000 police officers injured, at least $2 billion in damage. I say at least because that's insured damage. A whole bunch of people were not insured. I'm sure the damage exceeded $2 billion. And one of the things that will happen when the House is regained by the Republicans, assuming that they regain it in the fall, is that there will be investigations about the George Floyd riots and whether or not there was any rhetoric on the part of Democrats that might have caused it. And remember, there is zero evidence that whatever Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd, zero evidence that it was prompted because of George Floyd's race. And remember, the lead prosecutor in that case was a black man, and he took pains to say in his opening statement, all police officers are not on trial. The Minneapolis Police Department is not on trial. This individual is on trial, and he never made the argument that Derek Chauvin was motivated because of George Floyd's race. In fact, Derek Chauvin was not even charged with a hate crime. Then we have Jane's Revenge. That's an organization that has attacked dozens of pregnancy centers, churches, and pro-life organizations. Where is the investigation? No charges against any of the vandals, including that group called Jane's Revenge. And what about all those people who threatened Supreme Court justices after the Dobbs ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade? Are they above the law? The Pelosi's, insider trading. A lot of stock have appreciated after Nancy Pelosi got information that only somebody in the House can get. Meanwhile, the Pelosi's appear to have benefited from that. We don't know. Hasn't been any investigation. Maybe when the House is taken over by the Republicans, there will be an investigation. What about Jeffrey Epstein's client list? A lot of people on that list, including maybe Bill Clinton. We don't know. No real investigation. Mark Elias, that Democrat lawyer, reputation for coordinating campaigns against the majority of the justices on the Supreme Court, and nothing came about it. He was reprimanded by a federal judge. Nothing came about it. Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, undermined Trump by having secret conversations with China. Any investigation on that? Eric Swalwell, member of Congress, he was with this Chinese spy. Seemed like a pretty serious offense to me, but he's still tweeting about Donald Trump. He's still there. He's a member of the House Intel Committee. Any investigation on that? Eric Holder. We've been talking about him. Fast and furious. Under subpoena. Refused to comply by turning over documents. Was found as the only sitting AG in criminal contempt of Congress in history. Republicans took him to court. Judge appointed by Barack Obama allowed negotiations to go back and forth until 5 years later. 5 years later, documents were turned over. We think all of them. We're not quite sure because Jason Chaffetz, then in the House, says he doesn't believe all the documents were turned over. Was there some sort of raid on Eric Holder's home? Was he prosecuted for ignoring the subpoena the way Steve Bannon was? No. None dare call this a double standard. Then there's Susan Rice, who appeared on all those talk shows regarding Benghazi. 5 different talk shows on Sunday. Hillary sent her out because Hillary didn't want to lie. And she said it was all about a movie as opposed to a planned, coordinated attack by Islamic extremists. And then we have all these people that were involved in the 2.5-year Russian collusion investigation, including the Steele dossier and all these people that lied. Has anybody going to be held accountable for all of that? But nobody's above the law except that list of people that I just now mentioned in Federalist.